All right, so now that you know some of the extra CSS that we would need in order to create the different navigation, I'm just going to show you some examples, some different nav styles, and then how to create them, and then we'll eventually just make one for our page. Okay, so first is the top horizontal bar. That's the most common that you're going to typically see. Most websites use that. Sometimes it'll actually have a logo attached to it. So I think mine has a logo in the center. It might not. Some have a logo in the center. Sometimes they have it on the top left. But usually you'll just see it at the very top of the page, and you'll see a nav bar. The main reason why this is useful is that it is the most common and everybody understands it. So it's easily recognizable, and users will immediately understand how to work with it, and it will function. I know a lot of times you want to be creative, and in a lot of other classes I would say, oh, try to think outside the box. But when you are trying to create things that are for interaction purposes, you don't want to do that. And a lot of times, even with graphic design, you don't want to do that because you don't want to have to make the person think. The more they have to think, the more difficult it'll become for them. And a lot of times, especially on the web, they'll just go somewhere else. Okay. Also, this will work on all devices. So typically, it doesn't matter what your device is, whether it be a phone, a tablet, a PC. The horizontal bar will very often either be in the top center or the top left. And the top left doesn't matter if I'm using a phone or any of those devices. The top left will always be the first thing seen. So you will know that the navigation will be visible and readily available. There are some limits to this because you can only create so many upper level links, right? So for example, my site has hundreds of pages. I can only put so many on the top. I can't do hundreds of them, right? Like there's just not as much space that way. And you don't want to make it so you have to scroll left or right in a web page. That's a big no-no. You can do ones that have drop downs, and I'll show you that later, but that's kind of the negative. So what you see here, these aren't like interacting. They should be doing, okay, well, it's hard for me to format these because my WordPress thing will sometimes override what I'm doing. I can format some things style-wise. I do it inline so you guys can see it for the preview, but if it's something like this, I can't do this inline because it's a specific selector. Like I can't just go on the anchor and do visited. That's just not possible. So that's why I don't have as much control. But what you see here, this is roughly how you would format it. So the HTML just looks like this one here. It's just an unordered list of list items with anchors in it. And then this is just the CSS that's being applied. So just position relative, top, just is going to make it stick to the top. List style type, I do none. So what that's going to do is it actually removes the bullet points. Margin 0, padding 0. So that just makes sure that there's no extra space around them. And then for each list item, I make the display inline. So that way it'll stack from left to right. So they'll be inline. Margin and padding, again, 0. And then on the actual links themselves, I just format them, the color, the background, and then a specific width. I made the text inside of each button center. Margin at 0, padding I did 4, and then text decoration to take the underline off. And this will generally result in this. Oh, that's why it doesn't have the hover, because I didn't put a hover on here. So anyway, yeah.